No, no notice.
All right, the webinar is live.
Hi, Gary. Welcome back. Team, what's up next?
Well, our first policy session, I don't see our presenter here yet. There she is. All right, your first session is 2020 Small Grants Recommendation. We have Caroline Hill from County Administration, who is the Small Grants Coordinator, will present today. So she's coming into the room right now. Hi, Caroline.
How are you?
Good. Go ahead, please, when you're ready.
Okay. Well, first of all, good afternoon, Commissioners, Administrator Schmidt. My name is Caroline Hill, and I'm here to present the 2020 Small Grants Recommendations. This is the 12th year of the program, and this year the Budget Committee approved $250,000. This year presented us with challenges. First, in March, COVID caused a lot of organizations to close or change their operations to be able to continue to provide services, causing unexpected expenses. Then in May, the racial justice issues came to the forefront. Because of that, the board approved additional criteria to consider for the applications. The additional criteria were to fill an anticipated expense caused by COVID, encouraged partnerships to increase community impact, and to prioritize projects using a Black, Indigenous, and people of color lens. We also made sure to continue to give priority to those projects serving the Community Prosperity Collaborative areas, formerly known as Equity Pilot areas. At the same time, we ensured that the monies were dispersed throughout the county and to impact diverse groups. In an effort to reach as many populations in our community, the application materials were translated into 5 languages: Spanish, Chinese, Vietnamese, Russian, and Korean. We received 78 applications, totaling $873,411. Last year, we received 95 applications for a total of $949,951.44. Of the 78 applications, 26 were new applicants. A committee was formed to review the applications and formulate the recommendations. This year, the committee included Tracy Moreland, Commission Policy Advisor, Nancy Artman, Administrative Services Manager for the Sheriff's Office, Michelle Amon, Code Enforcement Supervisor, Kanaya Nishi as our Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Council representative, and myself. And today we're asking that for your approval of option 1, to approve the 2020 Small Grants Recommendation as presented. And I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
I don't see a lot of hands raising. That makes me wonder.
Mr. Hubbardston has his hand up.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I reviewed all of that, and you really did a great job of spreading, if you will, the wealth around to a wide variety of communities. Really was impressed with the work that you did on that, and I would like to move to approve the list as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the grant recipient list as presented. Any further discussion? I think, by the way, this will probably be second time it went forward without adjustments. So no further discussion. Christina, could you poll us?
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Hubbardston?
Aye.
Commissioner Savas?
Aye.
And Chair Bernard?
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations and great job as usual.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you to Caroline. Have you been coordinating this from the beginning, Caroline?
No, the very first year, Nancy Newton handled it, but then I got it after that. So I've been doing it for the 11 years out of the 12.
You've done a fantastic job coordinating this from start to finish, Caroline, each year. Thank you very much for your excellent work.
Thank you.
And with that, commissioners, I propose we go back to the issues list and do commissioner communications.
Who would like to start? Just go ahead and start because I can't see you.
Okay, I'll start. Jim, what's going on with your eyebrows and your mustache?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, there it is. Okay, just thought I would ask. I want to make sure I was still mentally well.
Well, I guarantee that.
Do we get to vote on that?
Thanks, Ken. I'll take care of you later.
I couldn't resist on you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Make a motion, Ken.
No.
That's not a laughing matter, commissioners. That's very
yeah, it's really not, you guys.
Oh no, of course not.
Sensitive about, you know, anything joking about mental health, except so I shouldn't have done it myself. Okay, now I want to give an update, and I've asked for clarification. I may need to give further update on Thursday, but at the Reimagine Oregon meeting, they gave results of a survey, and what I've asked for and I don't have is how many people in Clackamas County were surveyed, how was the survey distributed. I've asked for more information and more clarification. I don't have that, but I thought our commissioners would be interested in that information. So I've got Martine and Emily that are supporting me on this, and I've also reached out directly to Katrina Holland to ask as well. But I thought you would want to know that the results of that survey, the two most important issues for Clackamas County were the issues of duty to intervene and making sure that there were not sweeps of unsheltered people from law enforcement. So I didn't know that was going to be the most important issues to discuss at this Reimagine Oregon. So I was not prepared to specifically address those two items. I was prepared to address the items that are on the spreadsheet that our staff had said that we would be able to complete within 30 to 90 days, and where we were with that and in regards to the wildfires. And so that's what I came in prepared to discuss for the meeting, but it kind of shifted and I needed to address duty to intervene in sweeps. So miraculously enough, Angie Brandenburg got back to me with the policy from the sheriff's office regarding duty to intervene, which is basically when there is something in law enforcement that is, you know, example, excessive force and then another officer intervening, there's a duty to intervene. And there is a policy regarding that. I did forward that after I gave my presentation to the Reimagine group and asked for clarification if there was anything else that they would like. I'm also trying to get clarification regarding sweeps of unsheltered people. I have understood from H3S that they do good work with our law enforcement agencies, that if there is going to be, if there's an issue, they contact us first to address it. And also I was texting Angela Brandenburg, who's amazing at the last minute, you guys, to try to get me this information. And she did some quick work and said there are not sweeps happening from law enforcement in Clackamas County, nor with our partner agencies. So I did forward that information on after I presented to Reimagine Oregon. But there is a belief from members of the group that there are sweeps happening, and they were going to, people were saying, oh no, that's not true, there are sweeps. So I basically said, if there are things I don't know, please let me know, I will follow up. And am yet waiting to get that information. So long story short, I am happy to continue in the role of liaison, but I really need another commissioner to participate, or more than one, during these meetings. They're too important. We are to, I just need some backup, you guys. I can't be doing these by myself and not have any support from my fellow commissioners. So please, if we could just, somebody could sign up to say, I'll be there for that meeting. Really could use that. Because it's, you know, everybody's on these calls. The governor, we have representatives from Ron Wyden, Senator Merkley often, we've got members of the legislature, and it's often throwing things at me without me knowing that they're coming. And I don't think that's good if I'm just representing Clackamas County on my own on this. I would really like to have some commitment. I know Paul's busy. He's been an amazing partner through the beginning of this, but he's got some things scheduled on Friday. So I would love someone else to step in and do these meetings. We don't have a date for the next gathering, but it will be scheduled.
Okay. Ken, are you interested?
After November 3rd, yes.
Okay. Paul, are you ever thinking of going back?
After I resolve this one thing, it's already going to go into October 2nd and 9th. So it's just a personal issue.
Okay.
So I'm not sure when it's over, but it would probably should be over hopefully by November, the latest. But
okay.
I was hoping to be over in September, but it's not going to be.
Yes, sir.
And I just will say one thing. I just want to just share one thing as far as assignments. This transportation thing is like, it's overwhelming. I know. There are so many more new committees being formed. And while you all were at lunch, I was in a transportation meeting, and that happened yesterday, and it's going to continue to happen. Happy to do it, but it's last Friday morning, first thing out of the gate, 8 o'clock was a TriMet meeting. There's a lot going on right now. And we'll know a lot more after the November 3rd, but if this transportation measure passes, there's probably more work to do.
Well, Paul, on this reimagine, I don't want to step on your toes. I'm simply saying that I'm willing to do this work after November 3rd when I have the time to focus on it.
Yeah, and I'll do want to read, that's fine, Ken, you don't have to worry about that. I want to just state one thing is that I found the nexus to my wheelhouse of responsibilities in land use transportation with the issue of displacement and so forth and affordability of housing. So I see a tie-in there, but the group's not, the Reimagine group, the leaders of Reimagine don't seem to be focused on that. And I put my name on it, but they don't have that prioritized in the top queue. So it's at the bottom. If they want to bring that back, I'd love to engage there. But that's why I was hoping there would be some opportunity. But they painted this as only being 2 or 3 meetings, and their work could be done. So it's taken a life of its own. And I don't know. Do you see it going on in perpetuity, Sonia?
Well, I don't have a crystal ball, but I think that of all of the policy discussions regarding the issues of dismantling systemic racism, it is incredibly constructive to have a spreadsheet, to have people accountable, to have time frames. It's an excellent process, and it's worth our involvement, but I think it's far too important to just have one commissioner at these meetings. I think they're open meetings now. They're not, all of us could attend. The information that is shared at the beginning and the ending of the meeting is really important information for us to hear. It's forever enlightening to me and useful.
So.
All right, sounds like you got interest, but probably in November.
Yeah, can you hold off until then? I'm afraid to commit because I've got impacts starting to heat up big time too with issues that we're going to be dealing with. And I feel like I've got to be on top of that. And then the workforce stuff is taking a life of its own too. So do you just want somebody to attend, just for the time being? Because
yeah, I think it's like Multnomah County has, and they're not always there for the whole meeting. It's just the different commissioners do make a point to be there. Washington County usually just has staff attend. Sometimes a commissioner will attend, but their staff is very much engaged. Tricia Tillman, their new equity officer, was on the meeting this last time.
So I'll be happy to attend the meetings till the end of the year.
Why don't you, Jim? I think that's a good idea.
That'd be great, because they are open and they are noticed for us. So all of us can attend.
Okay, that's a deal. Yeah. All right, are you done?
The only other thing is I am concerned about this idea that sweeps are happening. And Gary, I don't know if we need to add something about that to our COVID emergency declaration, but I would like to just put that as a request for staff to follow up to let us know what's actually happening, since I'm getting mixed information from the community.
So as far as I know, there are no sweeps. However, we did do a sweep on Tuesday or Wednesday of the fire because there was a possibility it was going to head down that ridge in Oregon City. And we sent people down there, the sheriff did, I believe, to get people out of there because they were afraid that the homeless camps would burn up. So I know that happened, but that's the only one I've heard of.
That's a life and safety issue. So
that's correct.
Can't leave them there to, people to get
Right.
hurt.
Well, the mayor called me and asked, and Nancy was already on it, getting those people to safety.
Yeah, well, that's great. I just think it's a political issue. It's an important issue, and I'm not sure what to do with it other than to ask my administrator to help us and make sure it's a priority for the board so that we have adequate information, accurate information. That's all I've got.
Oh,
I just want to say back to the sweeps is that, I inquired about the metro stuff that was happening on Highway 213 in Beaver Creek, right? And I was told, this is pre-COVID, I was told that was metro, that was the Metro Police, and the Metro Police's function was sweeping people off their property. So, and to that end, to some degree, somewhat by coincidence, I happened to come across a person who was employed by and was a Metro Police officer. She had retired, and she stated that was her job. That was a real conversation I had. So I don't know what the purpose, I didn't even know there was a Metro Police up until that time. And I talked to a retiree who did just that. That was her job every day. Now this is pre-COVID. I want to qualify that, but I think I had that conversation. I think it was either December or January where I ran into this lady.
I'd like to say that we need to be very careful on that because the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal ruled on that issue in a year and a half or so ago. And their issue was that you cannot move people unless you have a place to move them to. And you don't want to see us get in trouble moving people with no place for them to go and set ourselves up for lawsuits.
So I don't know, Gary, maybe it's a matter of asking our experts at Clackamas County, because we have such great, amazing quality staff that know this issue, if they would recommend that we add something to our emergency declaration. If Metro is indeed conducting sweeps.
Are they?
If you're not aware of any sweeps occurring in Clackamas County yet, we will confirm if that is true or not and have that to you before Thursday and advise you of what if anything, you could put in your declaration.
Thank you, Gary. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and I do know that Oregon City is knowledgeable of the sweeps that were taking place at Beaver Creek and 213.
Okay.
So you know.
So Paul, when did those happen? Well, that was the evacuation sweeps.
No. This is pre-COVID. I want to qualify this. This is all before COVID, before the fires. This was
2 years ago.
Well, no, it was this year, early this year, and late last year.
All right, we need to move on. Paul, you're up.
I don't have it very much. I will just tell you that this transportation issue is heating up. I want to broach something with you all just to let you know that as these conversations about regional tolling, every road as a means to limit diversion are going on, that I've been pretty outspoken about. It's because they say that the purpose is not revenue generation, is making people change their behavior. So with that as the qualifier, that is the reason we want people to change behavior. I go, so then how do people in Clackamas County who do not have access to transit get to work? So this is an issue. And then revenue generation about what businesses are, what monies are coming to TriMet from employer tax, which is really the main source of funds for TriMet, along with fares. And now with HB 2017, the employee tax, that was originally designed to be from the employee's doorstep. So where the employee lives is where the money is being derived from. Well, the legislature, not the legislature, but the State Rules Committee changed that. That might be up in the air again for the next legislative session. But virtually all the money that's derived based on payroll is coming from where the employer is. So our jobs housing imbalance is important if discussions continue about how we grow transit service in Clackamas County. So I just want to let you know that that's going to force a conversation about transit derived funds. Will force a conversation about employment. And that has to be a centerpiece of really our strategy of making livability in our county better in many ways. Number one, if people are going to be punished for traveling out of the county to go to work, that's going to have an impact to the lower income populations and so on. So we have to be very cognizant that that's going to have serious impacts to the people that can least afford it.
All right, Ken?
The only thing I have is similar to what I'm sure others have, and that is, of course, spent a great deal of time dealing with our role on the fires and COVID toured facilities in Estacada, fire sites and whatnot like that in Estacada and in Molalla. We know at least about 53 homes and 150 outbuildings have been destroyed, and so we will need to be prepared as a county to do what we can to help people get back on their feet and also help people in the interim while they're getting back on their feet. And that's all that I have.
Okay, Martha? Mike?
Okay. I do that in case the dogs start barking, but anyway, they're quiet now. Lucky me. Anyway, yeah, impact's starting to get interesting. I got briefed with Trent and Chris Lyon and Tracy, and I want to say Sue, but it's not Sue. It's I'm just going blank. It's our housing person.
Jill.
Yes, Jill, the other day, largely because Metro is looking at having what they call a regional federal agenda for housing. And we're unclear about what the details of that are going to look like. One of the things that Jill has said is that the housing authorities and most of those folks get the money directly from the federal government. So we're not sure, does Metro want to be a pass-through? Are they kind of reframing it like a JPAC, where everybody kind of queues up for their own little, kind of issues that they want to kind of get front and center in the queue? Again, the fact that regionally, does that include our rural areas as part of an opportunity to get funding, or as what they usually say is, well, it releases more money from us if we can, kind of do a backfill. So we're in the middle of that right now, and we're just kind of proceeding with caution. And I think that this is a pivot for moving impact from solely just kind of land use issues and urban rural reserves and all that kind of stuff to maybe becoming more active in the federal housing arena to get dollars. So that's interesting. So I'm on MPAC, I'm going to stay on MPAC, and we're going to kind of be watching this pretty closely. The red flag for me was the meeting that they had. Evidently Trent has been involved since 2019. But not one of our staff was involved in the conversation. And I got a briefing from DTD, but I had not heard from our other, Trent and those guys about how long this conversation had been going on. And as I said, they're beginning to think it's a bit of a bait and switch. They felt as if it really wasn't going to be like where we're going to lobby together. They're trying to figure that out. So I'm on top of that now, and Tracy is helping me track that, and we'll see what happens with those continued conversations. We did not have a staff person. Trent was not there, even though he had been part of earlier conversations. He was not included, and the Washington County housing person presented with the Metro housing person. So I kind of want to know, and according to Trent, things have morphed. So I'm just trying to figure out where the disconnect is with that. The other thing is, the reason I was a little late today was I was out in Malala with the FEMA opening. The mayor was there, you know, Nancy was there. Thank you, Jim, for giving me that opportunity. Some of the issues that are popping up right now because of that is the fact that people want relief from permitting costs in order to rebuild. And we have not discussed that as a commission, but I did find out that Dan Johnson, they're starting to look at that kind of a thing, because people are feeling that they had their home, they lost their home, burned to the ground. That whole idea that they have to jump through hoops in order to rebuild is getting very onerous for them. And the other thing is that there was not a large turnout with regular folk at FEMA. And so I was asked by a reporter, I handed it off to our media folks about how come there weren't more people there and why hasn't the word been out? And, you know, as I said, I haven't been directly briefed on that. I assume that our PGA is working on it. They've only just opened this up for the last few days. So, I mean, it hasn't really, so the whole issue of how you contact people and let them know that they can get information and help needs to be a little bit more, you know, out there. But as far as I'm concerned, it just started, so there's no real reason. You know, we will be on the muscle with it, I believe, to get the word out there that that's available for people. So those are the two things I brought home from going there today. So, yeah, and people are already, Jim, my concern is people are already in there, you know, cleaning up and rebuilding and probably exposing themselves to stuff they shouldn't be exposed to, but I don't know what to say about that. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would too.
Yeah, I know.
If it's going to rain next week, you don't want all that stuff washing around your property. I probably would too.
Yeah,
but
no.
I know we're communicating they shouldn't.
Yeah, yep. So I don't know what that is, but we should probably just, you know, again, get briefed a little bit more on what getting the word out process is there. And who is that person over there in the left-hand corner of your photo?
I don't know.
No.
I think this office is haunted. I think we should nail the door shut. Let me leave though first.
Huh, there's a
I
human.
don't know. I think the transition of power, I'll think about it.
Yeah, all right.
Anyway. Okay. So I went yesterday with the governor on a tour of an area that, again, I didn't know existed. There's a lot around Estacada up in the forest.
Oh, yeah.
That you have no idea exists. I went up there to a rock quarry, which was surrounded by farms. Again, you know, when they say 134,000 acres burned, it doesn't mean that 134,000 acres burned to the ground. It's very spotty. Matter of fact, it was difficult to see where it had burnt. But if depends on the type of tree, whether they survive or not. Where we were, unlike the site we visited together, a lot of little trees, regrowth. A lot of those looked healthy. The Christmas tree farm, of course, those trees were gone. But, you know, the guy from Oregon Emergency Management, I had an opportunity to talk to him. By the way, he complimented Nancy.
Yeah.
Great work she's doing. And then had a little bit of opportunity to talk to her. The governor asked, well, she saw we were above the dam, and she asked, is that the water supply? And I said, no. But after that, I thought a little while. I thought, well, actually, the Clackamas River is the water supply for a lot of people. And that, you know, she talked about the concern about slides and stuff getting into the water that could affect people downstream. So that was good. There were other things we wanted to talk about, but didn't really have the opportunity. I wasn't there alone. There was 50 people. And she also complimented the sheriff. The sheriff's department did an excellent job, unlike other counties where they weren't able to evacuate people anywhere close to
what we did.
As the sheriff did. Yeah, he did a good job.
Yep.
We talked last night, the chairs. We had Leah Horner on the line. She kind of gave us an update about what the governor's thinking about. It was nice to hear that the rent issue was resolved by the governor. We didn't have to do it because we had just talked about that like 15 minutes before. So that was good. Other than that, I do have a crystal ball, and the future is right. Gary and I were talking a little bit about the budget, how our refinancing actually got us $4 million, not extra money, but $4 million. And I think we've made some really excellent moves. Our $18 million cut, strategic work, planning, hiring of Elizabeth. Gary, I think you should be proud. I would say that Clackamas County, and I've said this before, and it's still true, is one of the strongest counties in the state financially. Yeah. And we should all be very proud. It's not meaning like the state of Oregon's couple $1 billion shortfall doesn't mean great days, let's spend it all. It means focusing on the future and moving the county into 2021. But really, I think Gary and the staff here have done some great work. The biggest challenge, I think, is paying for this cleanup, which we have contingency money to do, and then waiting for FEMA to pay us back. That'll be the thing that we have to really watch for and really stay on. And some of that's going to be you guys in Washington, D.C., making sure that our congressional people are saying, hey, pay up. So we'll see. Anyway, that's all I had to report. Thank you.
Okay.
Paul.
Yeah, I just want to say that I think we need to be mindful that whether it's Martha's asteroid or it's the Cascadia, that I'm not wishing any of that to happen upon us, frankly. But the Cascadia, that's the one that's we need to be prepared for. So I don't want to put all our chips or expend all of our scarce resources and not leave room for preparedness financially.
That's why I have a backpack in my closet, so I can get out if something happens, and we need to be the same at the county. We need to be prepared. One of those is building the sunrise system.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks. Gary?
All right, we're back to policy sessions now. The next policy session is the coordinated response to domestic violence in Clackamas County. We have staff from Health, Housing, and Human Services to present, Sarah Van Dyke. And Sarah, is there anyone else you would like in the room for this?
Yeah, Adam Freer.
Adam in, and I see Rod Cook is here as well. So commissioners, you did ask for this session and staff is now here to present. So Sarah, when you're ready, please go ahead.
I think Adam's going to start with intros, I think.
Yes, I'll start real quickly. So good afternoon, commissioners. Although I won't be presenting today, Sarah's going to do the presentation. I just want to take this opportunity to introduce myself. My name is Adam Freer, and I started in March, right at the beginning of the pandemic. I was hired as the director of the Children, Family, and Community Connections Division of ACE3S. And as I see it, an important part of my job is to ensure that there's a strong connection between the board and the work that we do. Because as elected representatives of the people we serve, it's important that you have the opportunities to weigh in on and help inform and guide our efforts to serve the residents of the county. So my plan is to bring our work before you and engage with you on a more regular basis than we've really been able to do in the past with a shorter staff. We're starting with domestic violence for a couple of reasons. First, this body of work is primarily funded by the board through county general funds. And second, there are indications that COVID is having a detrimental impact in worsening domestic violence, creating even more urgency in how we respond to the problem. So Sarah Van Dyke will present to you some of the exciting and even cutting edge work that the county is doing on domestic violence that she's helped build and lead over the last 5 years in her role as the Domestic Violence Systems Coordinator. And just as a side note, in recognition of both her leadership and the importance of the role, one of my first priorities was to reclassify her position to a senior program planner position. So she'll share with you some of the exciting work that she's been helping lead. And thank you for taking the time to receive an update on this important work. And with that, I'll pass it over to Sarah.
Adam, I'm gonna share, I need to be host so I can share the PowerPoint. Drinka. Yep, not happening. Oh.
Sorry, I think Christina has that.
Oh, okay.
Hold on here, let's see.
Oh, I've made it available for you to share.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you for having us. We're really excited to talk to you about the coordinated community response to domestic violence in Clackamas County. There are way too many amazing programs that are happening right now that I can't cover all those in 15 minutes, but I'm going to focus on those programs and projects and initiatives that I'm personally facilitating or have significant role in. I won't be talking too much about a family justice center, a safe place, just because you have been very involved in that program for years and are well informed on their work. But let me know that they're involved in all of these programs and initiatives at a high level. So again, we're going to share the news about the work of the coordinated community response. I'm going to update you on some general fund expenditures that we have that supports some of these services in the community. I'm going to talk really quickly about the impact of COVID on services, victims, and our response, and a few plans for the future in terms of programs and initiatives. So what's a coordinated community response? And you're going to hear the word multidisciplinary a lot from me in the next 15 minutes. So this is a group of partners. Yeah. I'm sorry. Is a group of partners and stakeholders who work collaboratively and cooperatively together, working on continuously improving the response to domestic violence survivors and offenders in our community. We try to be a supportive infrastructure for services and response efforts with the hope of reducing fragmentation and siloing of programs. We work on ensuring that services are victim-centered and trauma-informed as well. My position as Domestic Violence Systems Coordinator has been with the county since 2010, and I've been in the position for 5 years. I'm staffed out of the Children, Families, and Community Connections office, but I live, and when we were living together, I was outstationed at the Family Justice Center since 2018. So some of the investments and outcomes that we have with domestic violence, one of my jobs is as a senior planner is to manage contracts with some of our community providers. The 3 programs that we provide funding to around domestic violence are Clackamas Women's Services, Casa Esperanza, which is a culturally specific emergency shelter program through Northwest Family Services, and the Victim Assistance Program out of the District Attorney's Office. Both Clackamas Women's Services and Casa Esperanza do shelter services. There's a few quick statistics here from the fiscal year 2019 and 2020. They provided shelter with its 2 shelters for 214 survivors of domestic violence. 1,000 people were turned away who requested shelter. That's a large number, but even more than that never sought shelter. There's over 13,000 shelter nights provided to survivors and their children. Almost 4,000 calls came into the Clackamas Women's Services 24-hour crisis line in 1 year. The Victim Assistance Office advocate provided assistance to 281 victims, including 33 victims of strangulation. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the initiatives and the collaborative projects that we are working on. The Family Violence Coordinating Council has been around since 1992. and is also multidisciplinary. They provide structure for coordination of efforts. We have an opportunity to talk a lot, and we meet monthly. We did meet weekly during June, late May to early July. We met every week so we could communicate changes in programs and how different agencies were responding to the COVID impact. And we normally we do in a quarter, we would do 2 meetings during the quarter and then do an actually large training in that quarter as well. We've done trainings around the prosecution of domestic violence in Clackamas County provided by John Wentworth. We've talked about abuse in later life, human trafficking, revenge porn, suicide prevention, strangulation, and also have provided some events for the community as well. The Domestic Violence Fatality Review Team is also multidisciplinary. I know, shocking. We track homicides related to domestic violence in the county. We perform reviews of selected cases. That means we talk to survivors and law enforcement. We talk to anyone involved in that case to sort of look for any gaps in our response. This is a no blame sort of review with the eye towards preventing future homicides. I provided you the report we did in 2019 that covered the 6 previous years of all the domestic violence related homicides in our county, which was 19. And we will be adding to that report every year so that this report will continuously get bigger because we'll add new years to it. The state domestic violence fatality review team reviewed 2 of our cases last year. They came to Clackamas County and did that, and we were present at that review, and they'll be providing us with a report hopefully by the end of this year, and I'm more than willing to share that with you. The Strangulation Response Initiative is one where Clackamas County is really leading the way in the state. Strangulation in the context of domestic violence is a very serious issue, but overlooked due to the lack of visible injuries. About 50% of victims don't even have a single mark or red mark on their neck when they've been seriously strangled. So that combined with a lack of training to law enforcement and first responders and hospital personnel have resulted in the issue not being at the forefront. Oregon passed a felony law that started in January 2019 that made strangulation in the context of domestic violence a felony. So to prepare for that, and I just want to actually call out the fact that Clackamas County personnel, such as the District Attorney's Office and Clackamas Community Services and others, were instrumental in that felony law happening. They were very involved in that. So the Strangulation Response Initiative is our local group, again, multidisciplinary and collaborative. We started meeting, we went to a training, we took a group to training in early 2018, started meeting immediately afterwards. And sent some more people to training. And then we came back and we have been very busy since. We have developed strangulation protocols that were signed by all the chiefs of police that guides the work around strangulation. We have also a strangulation supplemental, which is a law enforcement document similar to the domestic violence supplemental that leads them through the questions and check boxes looking for signs and symptoms of strangulation, and then leads them to, and then that sheet is then sent in with their report. The District Attorney's Office likes having those forms. It makes a big difference to prosecution. We are currently managing to put together strangulation forensic exam kits. These will be similar to sexual assault nurse examiner kits. There's not a lot of forensic material to get from a strangulation, but what it does do is it will lead the hospital personnel through the process of documenting injuries and doing the tests that need to be done to prevent long-term injuries to these survivors. We've also have Lake Oswego Police Department leading the way in terms of doing cooperative response between law enforcement and EMS at the scene of strangulation. We're hoping that is something that we can take to the wider county and potentially the state. It makes the scene of a strangulation much easier to document if EMS and law enforcement are working together. We've found already in the last year and a half, or last years that we've been around, we've already seen successful interventions happening at the scene of strangulation. We're seeing more strangulation charges happening, especially at felony level, and we're having successful prosecutions. A district attorney is coming to our meeting next week to walk us through a successful felony prosecution that she had a while ago. We also had planned on having a large advanced strangulation training from our San Diego folks actually in 2 weeks. And of course, we had to put that off because of COVID. So we rescheduled it for next year. We will be training up to 200 professionals in strangulation with a goal to have someone who's well-trained in strangulation in the room anytime domestic violence is being discussed. So we already have 130 of those slots paid for. So we're looking forward to that next year. Really quick, some of the other projects that we're working on right now. We're working on forming an expert witness program. This will help educate judges and juries around strangulation and domestic violence with the use of professionals who have been trained to be witnesses in court. We are working currently on a remote protective order process. That means someone petitioning for a restraining order can do that online in the safety of their home, file the paperwork, and see the judge all from home. We're also looking at the intersection of suicide and domestic violence. There is quite a causal link between victims of domestic violence and suicide ideation and attempts. We're going to be working a lot with Gally Murray the next year around in the Family Violence Coordinating Council around improving our response as a system around suicide. Also working on the Performance Collectiveness Domestic Violence Implementation Team, and that is going to result in a really fascinating survey we're going to be doing in the next few months to guide us in some future work. So one of the significant aspect of my job in the last couple of years has been to support the bringing of federal dollars into the county. Currently, we're partnering in two domestic violence, Office on Violence Against Women, Department of Justice grants. The first one is one led by Clackamas Women's Services. It's the new Clackamas County Supervised Visitation and Exchange Program. It's called Clackamas Safe Connection. So you probably all remember Safety First. They provided this service to us, to the county, to the Tri-County area until 2015. And we've wanted a program of our own since then. So this is exciting. We hope to be open early next year. The second grant is one that CFCC and H3S are managing, are the lead on this grant. It's an Improving Criminal Justice Response Grant. This works on supporting efforts around improving criminal justice outcomes for victims. It's particularly focused on restraining orders at the Family Justice Center. So COVID-19 did have quite a large impact. Once the stay-at-home orders early this year were meant to protect us all from a very dangerous virus. But what it did was put victims of domestic violence in the one place where they aren't safe, in home with their abuser. So even though the stay-at-home orders were meant to make people safe, it may have put lots of people in danger. We kind of see it as a pandemic within a pandemic. Domestic violence is a health issue, it's a financial issue, but it's impacted by the fact that victims had to stay in their home with their abuser. What we found too early in the pandemic and even months past, we found law enforcement has found an increase in the severity and level of violence that they were seeing when you're making arrests. This Clackamas County Sheriff's Office saw a 170% increase in assault force, which is a domestic violence assault, and a 250% increase in strangulation charges. The DA's office saw between March to July, between 2019 and 2020, they saw 67% increases in the number of domestic violence cases they were handling. Clackamas Women's Services sheltered 62% more people in their shelter during early COVID. But there have been a couple of positive impacts, if you put it that way. A lot of our programs had to pivot really, really quickly to providing services however they could. So a lot of that became virtual services, support groups, advocacy, counseling. So our programs pivoted very, very quickly to figure that out. And for some people, doing things online worked really well for them. They didn't have transportation issues. They no longer had to worry about childcare. They could get there quickly. 30-second commute is different than traveling across the county, especially if they're coming from a rural part of the county. And also doing things virtually provided some opportunity for innovation in some of our programs. I mentioned the remote restraining order before. That's coming through the Oregon Judicial Department, who in the past were not too excited about doing remote filing, but now they have changed rules to make that possible. And we're working on our local response to that as well. So real quick, some future projects that we're looking at right now are, I mentioned embedding suicide prevention in our system and asking questions and having formal and informal connections so that we can do the best we can by survivors. The Family Violence Coordinating Council is going to start working on a strategic plan for the next few years. This data collection and tracking system is sort of related to the implementation plan. We're going to find a way to collect the data from all of our partners in a central location so we can report those out and have those available if people have need for data and statistics. We're going to have to start talking in a deeper level about offender interventions. This is becoming a national conversation around how and when we intervene with offenders. The average age of offenders in veterans intervention programs is 40. If you don't get them into any kind of intervention by then, you're working with a lifelong problem of violence. We're also looking to assess the equity and diversity approaches and best practices in our community and find ways to support that in programs. And we're looking to promote the long-term success of the Clackamas Safe Connection, Safe Exchange, Safe Visitation Program. So Clackamas County should be really proud of the work that's underway and the work that we're doing with our partners. This work involves all of us working together collectively because no program and no program can function in isolation. And in some areas, the county and our programs are taking a key role in the state. The support of the Board of County Commissioners is essential to these coordination efforts, and the funds that you commit to services and to staffing is critical investment in the health and safety of Clackamas County residents. That's what I have. Thank you so much.
Any questions? Rod, did you want to add anything, or Adam?
All I want to just say is that I think we have a lot to be proud of for this effort. You know, I've been following this and been involved in this for 10 years, I believe, when Commissioner Leininger was on board. So it's great to see this. I mean, it's sad to know that the numbers are up like they are, and that's obviously been explained to some degree, but certainly there's not a lot of comfort in that fact nonetheless. So let's hope this, on a side note, we just hope that the efforts we have on the ballot will be successful and give us some more resources.
Yeah.
Ken and Sonia.
Yeah, I'm just recalling at AOC when this was on the agenda for the committees that I serve on, and AOC unanimously voted to support the strangulation legislation, and it would appear that it really is paying off in terms of making a difference for the victims and coordinating the services. So thank you for your work.
And I can tell you a really quick story. I had a call this weekend actually from an OSP trooper about a case in Marion County that he had responded to, and how he had used the strangulation supplemental that we had put together, because he'd been at some of our meetings in place of our normal OSP officer who was there. So he called to thank me for having that available to him, and it made a huge difference in that victim's outcomes. So, you know, that and the strangulation kit that we're working on, that is going to end up being a statewide effort as well. We already have the Hospital Association behind us, and the Sexual Assault Task Force and the Orphan Crime Lab already on board with that. So we expect next year to have that as a statewide project.
All right, Sonia.
Yeah, I really appreciate this presentation and so appreciate the work that we're doing. And there's just so much commitment from so many people that care about this. Question that I have, I was Googling around online for the council that you talked about, the coordinating council.
Yeah.
Do we have a list of members on that? I'm really interested to know who's involved in that group.
Well, it's you know, it depends on the month, but generally we have law enforcement, you know, the Justice Center, District Attorney's Office, Victims Assistance, legal aid, Department of Human Services, Child Welfare is very involved in a lot of what we do. Safety Compass, El Programa Hispano from Multnomah County, Family Skill Builders, which is helping with our Safe Exchange program, Parole and Probation, veterans, and all of our veterans intervention programs attend because it's statutorily necessary. So they're always there. Casa Esperanza, Northwest Family Services, IRCO, the Clackamas Fire, Children's Center. It's a long list, but yeah, I can send you a list.
Yeah, that'd be great. There's so much good work that happens when different groups are coordinating, collaborating. And I really appreciated the one image that you showed with all the words and collaboration being one of the key focus for the work that's being done, which is absolutely critical.
We really have, and I'm not just saying this to say this to butter anybody up, but we really have a really significant, our collaborations are deep and they're real. They're not pretend. And, you know, we are sort of, sure you've heard this word, Clackamas County is kind of Goldilocks County. We're not too big, not too small. And that really works to our benefit when we're doing all these projects. We have so many people, so many dedicated individuals, especially with strangulation, but just everything, even fatality review, and any project that I ever am involved in, people are very dedicated. They care about what they're doing, and they put their money where their mouth is all the time. I have never, I mean, there's always sometimes people can't do things because they lack time, but they will always say that and they'll find someone else to help. So we are really fortunate in our partners in this community.
You're on mute.
I appreciate Commissioner Fisher asking that request because that was my question, who's on it? Particular committee and how often they meet and so on and so forth. But what is the relationship to LIPSIC? Because
not significant.
You know, it's the local.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know what it is. Yeah, it was usually run out of the CYF office when it was CYF. I think it might still be. Is it, Adam? I think it's still managed by us.
Yes, we provide staffing support for the group.
Yeah.
For both of the initiatives.
Mm-hmm. And so CYF, I'm sorry, could you tell me what you mean?
CFCC division, the Children, Family, Community Connections division of H3S.
Okay, so they're involved in those.
We support both of those bodies, yes.
Okay, and is there any integration? Because it seems that, because I remember going to those with the DA, the Sheriff's Office. So it sounds like it's a similar group of people. That's why I was kind of curious as to, are there two groups that are focused?
It is two groups, and we have two different focuses. Lots of the people that are on FECC are also on LIPSIC. So it's the same group at all these meetings. I've presented there before years ago, and I've been to some of their meetings when I've had especially discussing grants that they were giving out to support our programs. But it's not, I don't go to their weekly meeting, their regular meetings, I think it's quarterly.
We used to have a commissioner on LIPSIC. I don't know, I thought Ken was doing that for a while, but that's what I thought. So LIPSIC has a broader focus than the other group. Okay.
Rod, did you want to add anything?
You say, Rod?
Yeah.
Just thank you to the commissioners who have invested funds, like someone mentioned already a decade ago, whether it be the Family Justice Center or the Children's Issues that you have invested over the years, and that's what's kept this collaborative together and made it one of the strongest in the state. So we just want to thank you for your leadership and insight and foresight, I should say, into this effort before it became popular in other parts of the state. So the women and the victims, whether they be male or female, and the children have totally benefited from this collaborative. And again, it's because of your input and your investment into the system. So thank you.
Thank you, Rod, and welcome, Adam.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Tough time to get here, but it'll be better.
Yes.
Thank you. Gary, what's up next?
That is your last session for the day, commissioners. You are completed.
Wow. All right. So we'll see you next time. We're adjourned.
Thanks.
Thanks.